The lion has the smallest heart among all large predators in Africa. Not in a figurative sense, but literally. Its heart weighs just 0.45% of its body mass. For the spotted hyena, this figure is almost double, around 1%. The wild dog has even higher endurance. A lion gasps after a short sprint. It lacks stamina. Its bite is weaker than that of a tiger, weaker than that of a jaguar, and, this is truly disappointing, it's weaker than that of a hyena. The very hyena that it regularly chases away from its prey. This raises a question that should actually be asked first, not last. How did this creature with a small heart, a weak bite, and zero stamina end up at the top of the food chain on an entire continent? How did it become the very animal that people have depicted on coats of arms, carved onto coins, and placed at the entrances to their palaces for thousands of years? The answer to this question has nothing to do with physical strength. The lion didn't win with its jaws. It won through society. It is the only predator from the feline family that figured out how to build an army. And this army works so well that for over 1 million years, no one has been able to dismantle it. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and give a like, thank you. But first, we need to understand what this beast is actually made of, because its body is a collection of paradoxes that don't add up to a logical picture until you understand one thing. The lion was never designed for a fair one-on-one fight. Every detail of its anatomy is that of a team player. The lion belongs to the genus Panthera, and here's a fun fact. Genetically, it is closer to the leopard than to the tiger. Externally, this is not obvious. Tigers and lions are similar in size, behavior, and movement, but DNA tells a different story. The lines of the lion and the leopard diverged about 1.1 million years ago. The two modern subspecies of lion, the African and the Asiatic, divided much later, around 50,000 to 200,000 years ago. And this isn't just a formal classification, there are real genetic differences between them, confirmed by laboratory analysis. They are structured differently at the DNA level, and this will play a role when we discuss the species' survival issues. Now, about the body. The skeletal muscles of a lion make up 58.8% of its total body mass. This is the highest percentage among all mammals on the planet. No other animal is packed with muscles so tightly. It sounds like a superpower, but there's a catch, and it's serious. Almost all of these muscles consist of fast-twitch muscle fibers. Fast fibers are those that provide explosive power. They allow you to take off like a rocket, strike with ferocious force, and make one powerful leap. But they burn energy instantly and accumulate lactic acid so quickly that within seconds, the muscles simply fail. You literally can't move them. They're filled with acid and require a long rest. So here's the story. A lion is a biological grenade. One powerful action, then a recharge. It's built for a single throw, not for a chase. And the numbers confirm this. The maximum recorded speed of a lion, according to a study from 2018, is 74 kilometers per hour, not 80, as popular articles often claim. And at that speed, it can only sustain itself for a few seconds. After that, it's over. The engine stalls. The heart can't keep up. The muscles run out, and the lion stands there, panting heavily, while the uneaten gazelle disappears over the horizon. So when you see documentary footage of a lion lying in the shade for 20 hours a day, don't think it's lazy. It physically can't afford to be active for longer. Its body is a sports car with a tiny gas tank, incredibly powerful over short distances, but utterly helpless over long ones. Okay, so how does it kill then? If its bite is weak, it has no stamina, and it can only run for a few seconds. What makes it dangerous at all? The answer, technique. A lion doesn't bite its prey to death. It chokes it. This is a fundamentally different approach. An adult lion clamps its jaws around the throat or muzzle of its prey and holds on. Just holds on. For a minute, 2, sometimes longer. It cuts off the air supply, and the animal slowly loses consciousness. The fangs, which can be up to 7 centimeters long, aren't designed to crush bones. They're too thin and fragile for that. Their job is to secure the grip, to latch on so that the prey can't escape until it suffocates. The lion's bite force is around 650 units per square inch. For comparison, a jaguar's is 1,500 and a hyena's is 1,100. The lion loses to both, but it doesn't need to win with jaw strength because it uses another weapon, time and grip. It simply doesn't let go. And when you can't breathe, it doesn't matter how strong you are. After a few minutes, you'll pass out. And here's where it gets truly amazing. In different prides within the same national park, scientists have documented fundamentally different hunting techniques. In Etosha National Park in Namibia, some prides exclusively use a nose grip, clamping the prey's muzzle to block its nostrils. In neighboring prides within the same park, this method isn't used at all. They only choke from the throat. This isn't genetics or instinct. It's a skill passed down within a specific group from older females to younger ones. Scientists call this cultural transmission of behavioral skills. Essentially, each pride has its own school, its own handwriting, its own style of operation. Young lionesses don't learn from nature at large, but from specific mentors within their own families. Remember this word, culture. It will come back and become key when we discuss what the world truly loses when one pride disappears. But for now, let's talk about the mane, because the lion's mane is not at all what it seems. Most people think the mane is an ancient trait that lions have always worn, but in reality, it evolved quite recently, about 320,000 to 190,000 years ago. In evolutionary terms, that's just yesterday. The color of the mane is determined by specific mutations in genes related to pigmentation, a transcription factor that controls melanin production, and the enzyme tyrosinase. A dark mane indicates high testosterone levels and good health in a male. But here's what's truly interesting. In zoos in Europe and North America, where the climate is cooler, males grow significantly thicker and more luxurious manes than their wild counterparts in Africa. This is direct evidence that the mane isn't purely a genetic trait programmed once and for all. It heavily depends on environmental conditions, temperature, nutrition, and stress. And within this lies another paradox. Males with dark, thick manes retain control of their pride longer. This has been confirmed by years of field observations. Females prefer them, and rivals often back down. But at the same time, a dark mane is a trap. It absorbs solar heat, causing the male to overheat. However, there's a nuance. Studies have shown that the core body temperature of males with large manes and those without is the same. Only the surface overheats, the mane and the skin beneath it. So, a lion with a huge mane feels the heat outside, but its internal organs function normally. It doesn't die from overheating, but it becomes uncomfortable and expends more energy on cooling, lying in the shade more often, drinking more, moving less. Thus, the mane is both a crown and a punishment. The more impressive it is, the higher your status, but the less you can afford. It's an ideal metaphor for power, if you think about it. So, what do we have at this point? A creature with a small heart, a weak bite, zero stamina, and a mane that overheats it. By all objective physical parameters, it loses to half of its neighbors on the continent. The hyena is more enduring, the leopard is stealthier, the cheetah is faster, the crocodile is stronger in grip, the buffalo is heavier and more powerful, and yet, the lion is the one called king, not out of politeness, and not because of its beautiful mane, but because it's the only one who figured out what no other predator on this continent has: how to work together. And the way this together is structured is a true engineering masterpiece that will break down in the next part. Among all the cats on the planet, there are 38 species. The lion is the only one that lives in groups. The tiger is solitary. The leopard is solitary. The cheetah sometimes forms temporary pairs with brothers, but these are temporary alliances, not a system. The lynx, puma, jaguar, snow leopard, serval, ocelot, all of them prefer to live alone, meeting with their kind only for reproduction. Only the lion has built a permanent society with role division, collective work, and experience transmission between generations. Why it? Because the savanna left it no choice. An open space without trees, without cover, without the ability to hide. This is the harshest arena on Earth. You can be seen from a kilometer away. Your prey is visible to all other predators, and they will come to take it from you. The herds of herbivores are so massive that a solitary predator is no threat to them. A buffalo will simply trample a lone lion, and such cases have been documented dozens of times. In the jungle, you can survive alone, hiding in a tree with your prey, as the leopard does. In the savanna, there's nowhere to hide. And the only answer to this pressure is to unite. A pride is not a family in the sense we usually think of family. It's a military alliance, a group of related females, their offspring, and one or several adult males who control the territory. The females are the foundation of it all. They remain in the pride they were born into for life. Daughter, mother, grandmother, aunt, all live together, all hunt together, all protect the cubs together. The males come and go. A young male is expelled from his natal pride when he grows up, and he wanders alone or with brothers until he becomes strong enough to take a foreign pride from another male. Females recognize each other by scent and voice. Studies have shown that a lioness can distinguish the roar of a familiar female from that of a stranger from a considerable distance. They don't just live next to each other, they know who is who. They have something like social bonds that are constantly maintained through rituals. Lionesses rub their heads against each other, lick each other's necks and heads. This looks like an expression of affection, and in part it is, but the main function of these actions is political. Just as grooming in monkeys serves to strengthen alliances and relieve tension after conflicts, social grooming in lions works as a tool of diplomacy. The head and neck are licked most often for a simple reason. A lion can't reach those areas itself, so accepting such a service from a fellow lion is pleasant and beneficial, while providing it strengthens relationships. Now about the males, and here we need to discard the image of the lazy king lying around while the females work. The male performs a function without which the pride would disintegrate within weeks. He controls the territory. The pride's territory can reach 250 square kilometers. That's a vast area, and the male regularly patrols its perimeter, leaving marks and checking boundaries. But he has a tool that saves an enormous amount of energy: his voice. The lion has a unique structure of vocal cords. They are not rounded like those of most cats, but square and flat, allowing them to vibrate with minimal air pressure and produce an incredibly low, powerful sound. An adult male's roar can be heard from 8 kilometers away. One roar replaces kilometers of patrolling. Instead of physically walking every corner of his territory and spending calories, of which he has so few due to his small heart and fast muscles, the male simply stands up and roars. And everyone within an 8-kilometer radius, both his own and others, receives the message: the territory is occupied, the owner is present, don't intrude. This is an energetically brilliant system, perfectly suited to a body that can't afford unnecessary movements. Now, let's talk about hunting, because it's more sophisticated than what's shown in documentaries. Lionesses don't just ambush from the bushes. They consider the wind direction, approaching the herd from downwind so that their scent doesn't give away their approach. They prefer moonless nights when darkness is at its maximum, and their advantage in night vision is fully revealed. They divide roles. Some drive the prey, while others wait in ambush along the expected escape route. This isn't an instinctive scheme hardwired into their brains. It's a flexible tactic that changes depending on the terrain, type of prey, and composition of the hunting group. With small prey like a gazelle or impala, the lion deals with it quickly. A heavy paw strike knocks the animal down, and a bite to the neck finishes the job in seconds. But with larger prey, like buffalo, zebras, or even young giraffes, it's a completely different story. A pride can hold onto a buffalo for quite a while because choking an 800-kilogram animal isn't the same as choking a gazelle. Several lionesses hang on it. One holds its throat, others grip its legs, and this process drags on painfully. Sometimes the buffalo dies from blood loss or shock before suffocation. After the prey is dead, lions open the carcass through the belly. That's the softest spot. They try not to damage the stomach because the smell of its contents instantly attracts all scavengers in the area. First, they eat the liver and kidneys, the most nutritious and caloric organs. This isn't a coincidence or a matter of taste preference. It's an optimal strategy to get the maximum energy in the minimum time before hyenas and vultures swarm the carcass. And since we're talking about hyenas, let's figure out why the lion, not the hyena, rules the savanna. Because by objective physical data, the hyena looks more convincing. Its heart is almost twice as large in proportion to its body, meaning it can run long distances without gasping for breath. Its bite force is 1,100 units per square inch. It literally crushes bones that a lion doesn't even attempt to chew. The hyena has stronger stomach acids. It digests what is waste for the lion. When hyenas finish off the bones after a lion's feast, it's not pitiful scavenging, it's ecological niche division. Two predators use the same carcass but different parts of it, and they don't compete for the same nutrients. But the hyena lacks what the lion has: size and numerical superiority at the right moment. An adult male lion weighs 3 to 4 times more than a hyena, and the pride acts as a single organism. 3 to 4 hyenas will back down before one male. 10 hyenas will retreat before 2 males and a group of females. The lion wins not because it's the best fighter, but because it never goes into battle alone. And here we need to say something important about the lion's place in the ecosystem, because it's not just a question of who would win. The lion is both a supreme and a keystone predator. Supreme means that no one hunts it deliberately. Keystone means that without it, the entire system collapses. This has been proven. When lions are removed from an ecosystem, herbivore populations begin to grow uncontrollably. They consume vegetation faster than it can recover. This leads to soil erosion, the disappearance of shrubs and trees, and subsequently, the loss of birds, small mammals, and insects. Remove the lion, and in a few years, you won't recognize the landscape. Now, the final block, and it's the heaviest. About what's happening to the species right now. Lion cubs are born with brown spots on their fur, resembling leopard rosettes. These spots are an evolutionary remnant of a common spotted ancestor of all big cats. They serve as camouflage in tall grass and disappear as they grow, although some individuals retain faint traces on their bellies and paws for life. A small cub in its first weeks of life is so vulnerable that the mother hides it from her own pride. The survival rate of cubs in the wild is low. A significant portion doesn't live to see their first year. And this is what makes the loss of each pride a catastrophe that goes far beyond simple arithmetic. Each pride is a unique cultural lineage. Hunting techniques, knowledge of territory, prey preferences, communication methods, all of this is passed from mother to daughter, from generation to generation. When a pride is destroyed, it's not just a few lions that disappear. A library of knowledge accumulated over decades vanishes. The new lions that take over this territory will start from scratch, without a map of water sources, without knowledge of migration routes, without established tactics for local buffalo. Asiatic lions in the Gir forest in India are a living example of what happens with population decline. They all descend from a tiny group of survivors, and they have already recorded a critical drop in genetic diversity. They look so much alike that they might as well be siblings, because they essentially are. This makes them incredibly vulnerable to any new disease. In 2018, an outbreak of canine distemper virus killed 36 Asiatic lions in the Gir sanctuary within weeks, 36 from a population where every individual counts. In Africa, the situation is different, but no less terrifying. Farmers whose livestock are targeted by lions use carbofuran, a cheap and readily available pesticide. They coat the carcass of a dead animal with it and leave it as bait. The lion comes, eats, and dies. But the same carcass attracts vultures, jackals, hyenas, and they also die. One poisoned carcass can kill an entire pride and dozens of other animals around it. This is an ecological explosion that destroys not just one predator, but an entire piece of the food web. And there's another factor that few talk about: the lion bone market. Tiger bones have been used in traditional Asian medicine for centuries, but there are so few tigers left that their bones have become too rare and expensive. And the market has found a substitute: lion bones, which are cheaper and still relatively available. The lion has become a victim of a problem that was never its own. So here's what all this leads to. The lion became what the whole world calls a king, not because it's the strongest. It's not the strongest. Not because it's the fastest. The cheetah is twice as fast. Not because it has the most powerful bite. The jaguar and hyena hit harder. By every individual physical parameter, someone else surpasses it. It became king because it's the only one of all the cats on the planet that learned what the other 37 species never did: to live together and work as a system. Division of labor between males and females. Collective raising of offspring, where any nursing lioness feeds any cub in the pride. Cultural transmission of hunting skills from mother to daughter. An acoustic system of territorial control through roars that can be heard from 8 kilometers away. Diplomacy through social grooming rituals that bind the group. It's not just a big cat with a beautiful mane. It's a social machine, assembled by evolution over 1 million years from paradoxical parts, each of which seems like a deficiency on its own. But together they form something that no one on the continent has been able to contend with for over 1 million years. And every time another pride disappears somewhere in Africa, from poison, from a bullet, from hunger on shrinking territory, the world loses not just a few big cats. It loses a miniature civilization with its own language, traditions, and history that will never be repeated again. If you've ever watched a documentary about lions, you probably noticed one thing. For most of the screen time, they're lying down, just lying there, in the shade of acacias, on heated rocks, in tall grass, on top of each other, in the most ridiculous poses, with their mouths open, with their paws sticking out in different directions. 20 hours a day, a lion spends in a state that outwardly looks like absolute idleness. And for most people, this elicits the same reaction: what a lazy king you are. But this isn't laziness. It's the only way not to kill itself. Remember what we discussed in the first part. The lion's heart is the smallest among large predators in Africa in proportion to its body. Its muscles are 58.8% made up of fast fibers, which provide colossal power for a few seconds and then require a long recovery. When working, these fibers accumulate lactic acid so quickly that the muscles literally fail. You can't use them until the body clears the acid and restores energy reserves. Add to this the heat of the African savanna, where daytime temperatures easily exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Add the massive dark mane in males, which absorbs solar heat like a black fur coat in the middle of the desert. And you have an organism for which every minute of activity costs 10 times more than for a hyena or wild dog. 20 hours of rest isn't a luxury or a choice. It's a biological necessity dictated by the structure of a body designed for short bursts of incredible power with very long pauses in between. A lion is physically unfit to be active for most of the day. If it tried to live like a hyena, running for hours, chasing prey over long distances, constantly moving, its heart simply wouldn't withstand the load. It would overheat, its muscles would fill with acid, and it would become an easy target for any buffalo or group of hyenas. But here's what's truly astonishing. Even when a lion sleeps, it's actually not sleeping. More precisely, it's not completely asleep. About 80% of the time that looks like sleep. When a lion lies with its eyes closed, relaxed and motionless, is actually a state of light dozing. This isn't deep sleep from which it takes a while to wake. It's a superficial state from which the lion can switch to full alertness in fractions of a second. The crack of a twig, the scent of a strange male, the alarm call of a bird, and the beast that a second ago seemed like a log is already on its feet, with a tense body and perked ears. By the way, about the ears. A lion's ears work independently of each other, like two separate antennas. Each ear can turn separately from the other, scanning the sound space around, and they don't turn off during rest. Even when a lion is in a state of light dozing, its auditory system continues to detect and process sounds from the environment. Essentially, a lion sleeps with its alarm system on, which never shuts off. This isn't sleep in our understanding. It's an energy-saving mode with constant monitoring of the surroundings. This creates a paradoxical picture. The most lazy animal in the savannah is actually in a state of constant readiness. It saves every calorie, every heartbeat, every muscle contraction, but never loses control over what's happening around it. This isn't idleness. It's a survival strategy honed over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. Now about the cubs, because they hold one of the most beautiful evolutionary stories. Lion cubs are born small, blind, and covered in brown spots that remarkably resemble leopard rosettes. If you place a newborn lion cub next to a leopard cub, the difference isn't so obvious. These spots aren't a coincidence or decoration. They are functional camouflage needed for survival in tall grass, where the mother hides her offspring from everyone, including her own pride, in the first weeks of life. The spots blur the outline of the lion cub's body and make it less noticeable against the backdrop of dry grass and earth. As they grow, the spots fade and disappear, although some individuals retain faint traces on their bellies and paws for life. And this isn't just an interesting visual fact. It's an evolutionary testament. The spots on a cub's fur indicate a common spotted ancestor of all big cats. Once, millions of years ago, the ancestor of the lion was spotted like a leopard. And this ancient program still activates at the birth of every new lion cub, and then slowly turns off as the cub grows, and the spots become unnecessary. The survival rate of cubs in the wild seriously depends on the stability of the pride. If the males hold the territory, if the females are healthy and experienced, if the territory is rich in prey, the chances of a cub growing up are significantly higher. But if a new male comes into the pride, displacing the previous one, it often ends badly for the small cubs. The new male isn't interested in the offspring of the predecessor, and nature is cruel and straightforward here. And this brings us back to the theme I asked you to remember in the first part: culture. Each pride isn't just a group of related lions living in the same territory. It's a bearer of unique accumulated experience. In some prides, females specialize in hunting buffalo and pass these skills to their daughters. In others, the main prey is zebras, and the hunting technique is completely different. Some prides know where water appears in their territory during drought. Others know the seasonal migration routes of wildebeests and structure their lives around this calendar. Scientists call this culture, and this word is used here not for beauty, but in a strict scientific sense. culture is behavior that isn't genetically programmed, but is passed through learning from one individual to another, from one generation to the next. A young lioness isn't born with the ability to hunt buffalo. She learns this by observing her mother and older females, participating in hunts first on the periphery, then in increasingly important roles. If experienced females are removed from the pride, the young literally don't know what to do. They can hunt in broad strokes. Instinct will guide them on how to chase and how to bite. But the specific tactics adapted to the specific territory and prey will be lost. That's why the death of one pride isn't just a loss of a few lions in the statistics. It's the disappearance of an entire cultural lineage that has formed over generations. The new lions that will eventually occupy the vacated territory will start from scratch. They won't know where the best water sources are during drought, which paths the buffalo take in October, or how to approach a herd of zebras from the eastern hill. All this knowledge will die with the last female of the deceased pride, and it's impossible to restore it, only to accumulate it anew, spending years on it and losing many unsuccessful hunts. And this is where we come to a question that should actually be raised in every conversation about lions, but for some reason, it rarely is. It's not a question of how many lions are left, even though that number is frightening. It's a question of how many unique pride cultures we have already lost, and how many we will lose in the coming decades if nothing changes. Isolated populations degrade genetically. We've already seen this with the Asiatic lions in the Gir forest. All of them descend from a tiny handful of survivors, and their genetic diversity is so low that one epidemic can wipe out the entire population in a matter of weeks. 2018 proved that this isn't a theoretical threat. 36 lions died from the canine distemper virus, and the sanctuary was on the brink of disaster. These lions simply lacked the genetic diversity for part of the population to be resistant to the virus. When everyone is genetically almost identical, what kills one kills all. In Africa, direct threats add to genetic problems. Carbofuran, a cheap pesticide that farmers use to poison predators that attack livestock, acts like an ecological bomb. One treated carcass kills not only the pride, but also everyone who comes to the carrion: vultures, jackals, hyenas, wild dogs. One act of revenge by one farmer knocks out an entire node of the food web. And the lion bone market creates a demand that didn't exist before. Lion bones have become a cheap substitute for tiger bones in traditional medicine, and this pressure will only grow as tigers become scarcer. So, here's what I want you to take away from all this text. The lion isn't just a beautiful beast with a mane that's convenient to draw on coats of arms. It's the only cat among 38 species that solve the survival problem not through strength, speed, or stealth, but through society, through collective hunting, collective raising of offspring, division of labor, transmission of knowledge between generations, acoustic territorial control, and social rituals that bind the group. Its body is full of paradoxes: a small heart, fast muscles that run out instantly, a mane that both helps and hinders, a bite that's weaker than that of smaller competitors. Any of these parameters alone is a deficiency, but when combined and placed in a social system, they turn into something that no one on the continent has been able to contend with for over 1 million years. The lion became king not in spite of its weaknesses. It became king because it found a way to compensate for each of them, not with its body, but with the bodies of those around it. This is perhaps the most honest lesson nature can teach about how true strength is actually structured. And every time another pride disappears, whether from poison, a bullet, or hunger on shrinking territory, the world loses not just a few big cats. It loses a small civilization with its own language, traditions, and history that will never be repeated again.